The lights flickered across the crowded hall as a frail boy stepped onto the stage, clutching a cheap, dented guitar like it was his last friend in the world. His clothes were simple, his shoes worn thin, his eyes filled with something no money could buy. Quiet determination. The host hesitated, whispering, "Are you sure you want to do this?" The boy nodded softly. "Just one song, please." A ripple of laughter moved through the crowd. A janitor's son? Singing Hotel California? It sounded like a bad joke. But then the first strum fell, trembling yet true, and the room froze. His voice cracked the air like a confession, rough yet beautiful, trembling yet powerful. It carried pain, love, and something pure. Truth. People who had come to judge now sat stunned, feeling something they couldn't name. In the front row, an older woman's eyes welled up. She knew that voice. It was the same boy who once sang to his mother outside the hotel kitchen while she scrubbed the floors. The sound now filled every corner, echoing, rising, unstoppable. When the last line left his lips, "You can check out any time you like, but you can never leave," silence wrapped the hall. Then one clap, then hundreds. The crowd stood, tears shining under the lights. The boy bowed, voice trembling. "That was for my mom. She taught me to sing between the sound of mops and dishes." The hall roared. And the internet would soon do the same. The morning after the performance, the world seemed to move slower for Eli. His name was suddenly everywhere. The janitor's son who sang Hotel California. Videos of his trembling hands and soulful eyes flooded social media. But behind the millions of views was a story no one knew. A story carved in struggle, silence, and love. Eli had grown up in a tiny room behind the hotel where his mother worked as a cleaner. She used to hum Hotel California every night as they shared leftover food from the guests. She'd say, "One day you'll sing this song on a real stage. Eli, promise me that." He had laughed then, but that promise had lived in his heart ever since. When she died suddenly 2 years ago, exhaustion and grief stole his music. Eli quit school, picked up her mop, and took her night shifts to keep their small room. Each night, he'd sweep the same hall she once walked, whispering to himself, "Just one more day, Mom." One evening, as he hummed softly in the lobby, a retired music producer overheard him and froze. That broken, honest voice cut through the air like memory. "You need to sing again," the man said gently. Eli smiled faintly. "I don't have a stage anymore." The producer whispered back, "Then we'll build one." Backstage, Eli's fingers trembled as he tuned his old guitar, its strings slightly rusted but still alive with memory. Around him, other contestants laughed in groups, dressed in bright suits and shining shoes. He stood quietly in his faded hotel uniform, the same one he wore while sweeping floors. A few contestants exchanged pitying looks, whispering, "He's just here for sympathy." But Eli wasn't there for fame or pity. He was there for a promise. The producer placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Don't prove them wrong, son. Just sing your truth." When his name was called, the bright lights felt like judgment. The crowd murmured as he stepped forward, clutching the microphone like a lifeline. Then silence. Eli closed his eyes and saw his mother's tired smile. "You've got this," he whispered under his breath. The first chord broke through the noise, and the hall went still. His voice rose, trembling at first, then soaring with emotion. Every lyric of Hotel California carried his story: loneliness, love, loss, and faith. The judges leaned forward, eyes wet. When his voice cracked mid-song, no one laughed. Instead, the crowd began to hum along softly. It wasn't a performance anymore. It was healing. As the final chord faded, Eli whispered, "For the one who believed in broken voices." The hall erupted. Hearts full, tears flowing after the performance. Eli sat alone backstage, hands still shaking, heart still echoing with the last note. The applause had faded, but its warmth lingered like sunlight after rain. A staff member approached quietly, holding an old brown envelope. "Someone left this for you," she said, her eyes soft. Inside was a single silver key and a note with only an address written on it. Confused but curious, Eli followed it that evening. The address led him to a small, worn-down apartment near the edge of town. When the door opened, he froze. Standing before him was the hotel manager. The same man who had once scolded his mother for being too slow. The man's eyes glistened with guilt. "Eli, I've carried this burden for years," he said, voice trembling. "Your mother was the kindest soul I ever met. I was wrong." From a shelf, he pulled out a small wooden box and handed it to Eli. Inside lay a dusty cassette tape labeled Eli's first song. The manager continued, "She made me promise to give it to you when you sang for the world. She believed this day would come." Eli pressed the cassette to his chest, tears spilling freely. "She never stopped believing," he whispered. The next morning, he walked back into that same hotel, not as a cleaner, but as a guest of honor. Months passed, and Eli's life changed in ways he never imagined. Record labels called, news channels begged for interviews, and his performance was replayed around the world. But fame didn't touch his heart the way his mother's memory did. When he finally signed his first record deal, he made one humble request. to release his debut album under the name Eli and Mom. The producers hesitated at first, but his sincerity was unshakable. The album cover was simple, a broom leaning against a guitar, symbolizing where his music was born. No glitter, no fancy graphics, just truth. When the album was released, people around the world connected to his story. Comments poured in. This made me call my mother. He sings with his heart, not his voice. His songs became a reminder that love and kindness never die. They echo. On the anniversary of his mother's passing, Eli returned to the hotel where it all began. The cafeteria had been renamed Maria's Diner in her honor. He sang Hotel California once more, this time smiling through his tears. Mom, we finally checked out of pain, but your love will never leave. The crowd stood silently, some weeping, all inspired. The boy who once mopped floors now swept hearts around the world when wang to detecta with nothing but love and humility.